After a rough start to his Toronto Raptors career, a lot of Raptors fans expected Bruce Brown to be moving on from the Toronto Raptors this off-season. However, in the last few days, a few things have come out which indicate that Bruce Brown might be back with the Toronto Raptors with hopes of proving people wrong, up in his sort of value and play and status with this Raptors team and potentially impacting this team on winning. So we're going to break down what those signs are, whether or not it makes sense for the Toronto Raptors to bring him back to the team, and if he can actually impact this team winning wise the same way he did the Denver Nuggets just a couple seasons ago. So lots of stuff to dive into, but before we talk about that, folks, again, over 51% of our viewers are not subscribed to the channel, and we want to keep you up to date with everything regarding this Raptors team. Again, as the draft and sort of free agency approaches, this is going to be a wild offseason for the Raptors, so make sure you guys keep it locked to Raptors Digest. But let's dive into what's been going on regarding Bruce Brown, because he's a player that obviously is good at basketball. He's one of the top sort of role utility guys in the league, and that's why some Toronto Raptors fans were fairly excited when he was brought in. Obviously, player-wise, there wasn't a huge return for Pascal Siakam, but the draft picks were the centerpiece of that. But Bruce Brown was an intriguing player. In that immediate game against the Miami Heat, people were hyped up, but definitely Bruce Brown didn't look like he was playing at an elite level this season. And a lot of the fans turned on him, especially given his contract situation, but there was a little Twitter thread. That's the first thing we're going to dive into, coming from Barnes Muse, good guy out there on Twitter, DMs a few every now and then. But basically, he says Bruce Brown flipping the script on his haters next season, nice little meme. And then, Scotty Ray Barney saying he was injured during the entire tenure with the team. He had $22 million for a reason. Bruce is tough. And, they're just kind of agreeing, gassing up Bruce Brown and the potential he could have with this team for next season. Love the support. I like that. I'm a Raptors positive, even though, Bruce Brown definitely isn't got me super excited like some Raptors players have in the past for me. But I like fans supporting the team. Well, Bruce Brown even responded to this after, basically coming out and saying, "Don't worry, they will find out." So Bruce Brown saying that, hey, all of these people saying, hey, Bruce Brown's trash, he's this, he's that, and even though he had a struggle season, he's going to come out and show them, right, that he is still the player he was with the Denver Nuggets, a strong utility two-way guy out there in the NBA. So Bruce Brown responded to that and also just kind of had a Instagram story out of nowhere, which had some Raptors fans turning their heads as well. Basically, in the same meantime, I'm going to be honest, I'm going to miss getting Tim Hortons every morning. Again, minor things, little things here and there, but for a guy, especially with how the narratives have been going on, how the chatter's been going about a guy that's definitely going to leave, I feel like if he knew he was gone, if he knew he was out the door, he wouldn't be making comments like this. Two Raptors fans gassing up Canada, gassing up, Tim Hortons and things like that. Right? I don't think those would be coming out from Bruce Brown if he knew for sure that he was going to be leaving. Now, before we dive into the analysis of whether or not it makes sense, this is by no means a guarantee that he's going to be back with the Toronto Raptors or anything along those lines, but I do think there is some significance to this in regards to it's not a surefire thing that he's gone. And also the fact, we can look at his contract situation. He's a dude that he's making a lot of money if he gets his team option picked up. So he's probably going to be pushing for the Raptors to keep him around and keep him on this team. So whether or not, it's something, a little propaganda for him to come back to the Toronto Raptors, whether he knows something, well, he definitely knows a lot of stuff regarding his contract situation that we don't. But regardless of what's going on, I think there's a likelihood that Bruce Brown ends up returning to this team, whether Raptors fans are happy about it or whether they're not. And we can dive into the stats and everything regarding Bruce Brown to see whether or not it makes sense. Because, again, he's a guy that's only 27 years old. He's not old and washed by any means. Averaged 11 points per game last season, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. But with the Toronto Raptors, numbers dipped a little bit, averaging 9.6 points, 3.8 rebounds. The mids went down as well. But the percentages and the efficiency was really the part of his game which disappointed a lot of Toronto Raptors fans. We need some three-point shooting around, RJ Barrett, around Scotty Barnes, these types of players. Jakob Poeltl didn't get a huge sample size with all those guys playing together, but Bruce Brown only shot 31% from behind the three-point line on 2 attempts per night, so his attempts were down and all that type of stuff, but wasn't really that floor spacer, wasn't really that creator that Raptors fans were hoping they were going to get. The advanced numbers didn't like him. His box plus minus was the worst of his career, and again, that stuff gets skewed by the team being bad, players being out, so not going to read into that too much, but definitely dipped even when he was with the Pacers last season, so the advanced numbers didn't like him. And in regards to the shooting, right? Again, you can be a decent shooter. You can be it is what it is kind of guy, spacing the floor and all that type of stuff. But if you're going to be one of those spot up dudes, you got to be able to knock down threes from the corners. And Bruce Brown shot 25% from corner threes last season, which was 31% of his shots, which is just horrible. It's a bad percentage for a guy that, again, no one's going to accuse him of being a top-notch three-point shooter, but definitely a player that if he wants to be sort of that 3-and-D mold, have an impact on this Raptors group, is going to have to hit more of those corner three-point shots. It's just it's just what has to happen. I mean, he's done it previously in the past. With the Pacers, he was shooting 38%, 34%, previously shot over 41 from those areas. Again, never a great elite corner three shooter, but definitely has to be someone that's able to knock those down at a higher clip, especially where he's not going to be scoring a ton of like pull-up middies or anything along those lines. So Bruce Brown, okay. Offensively, really great cutter. Offensively, can facilitate for others. He can do all those types of things. Can shoot the basketball. Isn't Ben Simmons out there, but isn't an elite three-point shooter. But defensively is where Bruce Brown could have a serious impact. It's where we saw him have an impact with the Denver Nuggets. It's where we just saw him be a solid sort of complementary piece, a nice utility guy that can have an impact playing off of other stars. But defensively, he did look a step slow for the Toronto Raptors last season, and that was the really big thing that concerned me about his potential future with the squad. So basically, if he wants to come back and have an impact on this team, if the Raptors pick up his team option or let him go and then sign him back or whatever the heck they're planning on doing, right? Especially with RJ Barrett and Scotty Barnes being the two surefire guys, obviously Emmanuel Quickley as well, but two surefire guys that are going to be in those lineups, with potentially Bruce Brown that, aren't bad three-point shooters, but aren't guys that are, knockdown shooters themselves, like Klay Thompson's out there by any means, or I guess Klay Thompson's a bad example after the playoffs, but the toppest of echelon three-point shooters in the league on the wing, right? Bruce Brown's gonna have to knock down more of his three-point shots and play better defense. Just be a guy that can be a hound, can be a defensive menace out there for the Toronto Raptors. So again, from what we saw from last season, we know he was dealing with knee issues. He was dealing with different knee injuries and stuff. So maybe a healthy Bruce Brown is able to sort of have more of an impact on both sides of the floor for this team, but We'll have to see. I trust Masai Ujiri as much as the fan base seems to have turned on Masai in recent weeks. I mean, that is what it is. If he thinks Bruce Brown can get back to form, can get back to being the guy, I mean, he's going to come out and remind him. They'll find out. Bruce Brown, those fans are hating on him as a player right now. I trust it. I trust it until we see it next season. But this is sort of the last season in terms of trust Masai. Things completely sort of spiral out of control once again. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about all of this sort of cryptic messages coming out for Bruce Brown. I don't even know if it's cryptic, but gassing up, his ties to Toronto, ties to the team. Gassing up to some Tim Hortons. I mean, the pan. I don't know if people have had it. The pan, the pan bread pizza that they have at Tim's. Kind of good. Kind of a good sponsors, Tim's. But no, you guys are the best. Anyways, subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. I've signed it out. Cheers.